What is up? It's your boy Lee in the line, and welcome back to another video on this channel. So, basically, I don't got time to explain this intro, but this is part 2 of the Mrs. Anderson story. So, this is going to be a longer video than usual. It's going to be like 15 to 20 minutes long, so grab your popcorn and let's begin. Where we last left off was basically me introducing Mrs. Anderson to the world. I hope nobody snitches. Please don't be a snitch. Basically, I introduced the character and stuff. So, yeah, we're going to go into her hearing now, since that's the only thing that I didn't go into in part 1 because I said I would save it for later, but I just never did it. So let's talk about it. Yeah, so her hearing, it was unbearable. Like her not being able to hear, it was kind of unbearable because she was like, what, huh? When we're literally speaking as loud as we can intentionally. Like her hearing was worse than Helen Keller's, and she couldn't even completely hear. She was literally blind and deaf. And also, Mrs. Anderson was also blind, kind of, so we'll get to that later, I promise. But I really only had a problem with her hearing me, like, twice, because I'm relatively loud, as you could tell by my voice being, like, monotone and loud, so that might be a problem. I might have to go check out a doctor. Her hearing was so bad that she would stand right in front of me. By the way, I sat in the front middle, so basically I was in the front row directly in the middle, but we'll get to that later. But basically, she would stand right in front of me and then talk to the kid on the left of me. He would like speak pretty loud, and then she couldn't even hear him. That's how bad her hearing was. She should have retired on the spot. If you didn't see part 1, if her husband dies, she would retire. So, yeah, that's why she's not retired yet, so I don't know. Then there were also some characters in our class. So basically, we had the teacher's pet. We'll call him Charlie because that's the most teacher's pet name of all time. I know his actual name, and I might have accidentally said it in part 1, but you don't gotta go back. You don't gotta go back. You can technically consider me and Charlie the teacher's pets, but do not count me as a teacher's pet. Because one time, Mrs. Anderson caught all the kids not reading, and we were the only two that read. Well, she asked me if I was reading, which I really stopped reading. Then I pretended to read to get some quote-unquote extra credit, which she never handed out extra credit at all, except for watching a stupid little video, but we'll get to that later. Liam, shut up. And the worst part was that Charlie was failing with like a 50-some%, and I had like a 30% higher grade than him. I had like a high 80 to a low 90 because the assignments were easy, but she taught him in hard ways. So, yeah. But you couldn't have a teacher's pet without a bad boy. And we're going to name him Jordan. So basically, Jordan was a relatively quiet kid until the third 9 weeks when he just started lashing out on the teacher because of some BS rules and stuff. And like she complained about his mask being down, and then he started coming up with like the freedom of like speech and stuff. I kind of low-key forgot, but like all I know is that he would get in trouble a lot from like the third 9 weeks to like the end of the year. It was to the point where he was bringing monsters, and it was to the point where Mrs. Anderson kept like yelling at him and was insulted that he would bring monsters every single day and bringing up like carbs and sugar and stuff, even though we were in English class trying to learn stuff of what we could actually learn without this mean old teacher being a little bimbo. And she would also bring up the school manual a lot, like this like 20-page thing that literally nobody reads except for this person. And we were like, nobody reads the manual. It's too long. And ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you all have been waiting for, the most controversial thing that I'm about to say in this. She said the N-word. And I know some of my friends are going to be in the comments like, she really didn't say the N-word. She said it in a literary text context manner. But she didn't give us a single warning and said it with the hard R 3 times in class. Probably like twice in a single class. But keep a reminder, she has 6 periods throughout the day. And one of them's a tutoring period and one of them's her lunch break. So basically, she has 6 periods throughout the day. So if you did the math a little bit, she would be saying the N-word about 18 times. 18 times. And she didn't even say it was for literary purposes as well. She didn't even give us a single warning. Like, that is why I was triggered. Alright, so the person to the left of me, okay, so me and my friend who sat to the left of me would laugh every single time that Mrs. Anderson said the N-word. We would also be shocked as well because she said the N-word without any context, with the hard R, and without any warning, which means the same thing. She thought it was okay back in the 80s, but let's just admit, she was the person that sat behind you. And all of us, like half of our grade, were going to go to the principal's office and address some things because she said it with the hard R, with the hard emphasis, and without any context. But we couldn't get her expelled because, teacher privileges, air quotes, and the fact that she was too old to be let go or something like that, which we didn't actually report it to the principal, but we would have and we could have as well. But anyways, enough with those stories. Let's just get to the things that we actually had to read real quick. So we had to read like a chapter from the life of Pi. I don't know why, but like it was about the tiger who ate all the animals, and it was just the boy and Pi. Pi is the tiger, by the way, and they were like wrestling with each other. Ayo, that's kind of weird. And then he managed to get to some land to talk to some people and stuff. I don't really know the story or forgot about the story because I'm going to tell you about The Old Man in the Sea, yes, by Ernest Hemingway himself. If you don't know what The Old Man in the Sea is, it's basically a 127-page novella about a man trapped out in sea because stuff happens. I really forgot the plot, but I'll tell you the stuff what actually happened while we were reading it. So let's get it. So basically one of the days I just decided to go to sleep right in front of her. She literally was sitting right in front of me reading The Old Man in the Sea. I just dozed off for like 20 minutes and she didn't even notice me. But there's this kid who, for identity's sakes, we'll name him Eddie. So basically, Eddie would basically sleep in class for like about 5 seconds or like a minute, and Mrs. Anderson would yell at him for it, while I sleep for 20 minutes and get away with it. So I bragged to all my friends that how I got away with sleeping in her class, and she still doesn't know to this day, hopefully. Please do not let her check out this story times, or else I would get sued. I'm kind of scared. And then for some random days, everybody just decides to sympathize with this teacher because, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I was thinking about going to her house and egging it or something like that. I don't know why. And then all of my friends were sympathizing with the teacher for some reason. I don't know why you would sympathize a teacher who gives you a lot of homework and gives you basically mental stress without her knowing it. But anyways, that was an off-topic statement, so let's get back into Old Man in the Sea. So basically, and of course with every English teacher, you gotta have a text-dependent analysis, or a TDA for short. I hated these things, and I still hate these things to this day, even though I barely still write them, because they've rebranded the name to something I kind of forgot. They keep changing it multiple times, and it's messing with my fake dyslexia. So basically, I was too nervous to go up to the demon herself for her to check my stuff, but then I did it last second. So basically, for no reason, I spent 8 minutes up there just checking a simple introduction paragraph, I think it was. And she kept me after class for like about 5 more minutes than usual. So basically, the odd number classrooms got out first. Just a reminder, I'm an odd number classroom, so like room 29. And then she kept me for like another additional 5 minutes for no reason at all, just to ask me 2 simple questions. That is the most stupidest thing a teacher could ever do. And I almost ran late to my bus, so glad I can clutch up. And yeah, that's why I do not like Mrs. Anderson at the current moment. And whilst I was in that 5-minute period, I was kind of looking for that toy cell phone that all the rumors were telling me that eventually turned out as false, because I couldn't find a toy cell phone on our desk because stuff happens. And apparently, the person who told me the rumor tried to take the toy phone away and send it to the office, but they obviously have no balls, so they couldn't do it. Dang, I really didn't realize this, but we're almost 10 minutes into the video without me telling you to like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications if you're enjoying the second part so far. But anyways, let's get back to the stories. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the extra credit thing that was involved with the story. So let's go. So basically there was this documentary about Ernest Hemingway and his life and stuff. And then there's this specific episode that we had to watch on premiere in a Zoom classroom or something like that at like 8:30 about the old man in the sea. So that was extra credit. And then he had to answer some questions, which I personally didn't do the extra credit because screw extra credit, am I right? And then there's this girl, we'll call her Ashley. So basically, before the thing premiered, there was basically a Q&A thing, and she embarrassed herself in the Zoom chat. So, like, she was asking where she was and stuff and embarrassing everything. And then the very next, like, 2 days or something like that, we spent like half the class time talking about the situation, and she was like, "Oh, you could have got in trouble outside of school, right?" That was like almost what she sounded like. That's kind of giving me a clue, but like I don't know. And she was like, "You're lucky I don't suspend you." Like this teacher was like an actual demon. Like you can't even be free outside of school. You're basically trapped in a prison 24/7. But Liam, isn't that what actual school is? Well, yeah, but I don't care. I'm breaking out. Ladies and gentlemen, with the last story, we come the final exam week. And trust me, I think that was the worst week of a Mrs. Anderson that we've ever seen in our lifetimes. So let's begin, shall we? So basically, the final exam was basically drawing a plot diagram, naming the parts of a plot diagram, and like coming up with like vocab terms. But luckily, since I have an IEP, it was kind of a easy breeze for me. But for some people, they kind of failed. But we'll get to that later. Liam, if you don't stop saying that word, you're going to turn into that word. Like every adult says that. I don't know why they say that, but it's kind of a myth. And so, yeah, leading up to the final exam week, the teacher was gone for 2 days for some random reason, and she left us 150, and yes, I'm saying this without no exaggerations, 150 vocab study guide cards. Like, the 4 block thing of like the word, the definition, example, and a drawing. Like, we had to do 150 of those. I believe that nobody did it, and if they did, they wasted their times because you really didn't have to do it. And so, in protest, so basically for the next 2 days, we were on our phones because basic freedoms, am I right? Since the teacher's not here, the rules don't apply. So, like, the substitute teachers, they really don't care. And then the bad boy, Jordan, was just basically sitting on the lounge chair drinking Monsters without his mask on those 2 days. I don't know why he was, but whatever. But then the substitute teacher was like looking at me really suspiciously, thinking that I was on my phone and not doing any work because I apparently had to multitask in order to get away with everything. So I was watching TikToks while quote unquote doing the assignment. And like everybody, literally the teacher's pet didn't even do the assignment. We all just like chilled out, did nothing. We just played on our phones because basic freedoms, like I said in the last clip. But anyways, and that did not help anything for the final exam because the test was kind of easy for me because there's a thing called an IEP, and basically I get a word bank. And I kind of took the word bank home, and he had multiple days to take the final exam. So I basically took home the work bank and then basically studied all the terms with everybody, and I had all the answers on my little word bank that I had to cross off because Mrs. Anderson did not say anything about handing in my word bank. And then I ended up passing for the year with like an A. But here is how my friend got messed over by the grade system. So basically, if you're on Skyward, which is basically like a grading service, there's like this category called FE that stands for final exam. And you put a grade for your final exam in there. So like, for example, if you got a 63 on your final exam, then you got a 63 on your final exam. But since since Mrs. Anderson is like 60 years old and basically doesn't get the concept of technology too much, she puts the thing in the 4th 9 weeks grade and messes over with my friend's grade. And so he failed for the year because of one technical error, and he had to take summer school, which personally sucked for him and sucked for me because I couldn't even see him for about a couple days because of summer school stuff. And the worst part is that he was close to passing. He had a 64 and failed because of one technical error, so it messed over my friend, and now I still do not like Mrs. Anderson to this day, and these stories prove that you don't like her either, even though you probably never attended the school that I had to. And so after that final exam, she was still teaching stuff, which honestly just made me mad, because normal teachers just like give you free days for like the rest of those like days of school that you have left. And then on the last day of school, she was teaching us about Nelson Mandela and his and about how he did stuff for South Africa and stuff. Well, I brought up the fact that there was a Nelson Mandela effect because of the 27 years he served in prison and stuff. And I just decided to be a genius for one day, because in my history class that I had 4th period, because basically the orders were very complicated for the period. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 5, lunch, 6. And then we were out of school. So basically 2 periods ago, that period, I was guessing presidents by their foreheads. And now that period, I was talking about how Nelson Mandela is named after the Mandela effect and stuff. And so, yeah, I was just a genius that day. And then I just ended up going to the guidance office to get my schedule situated. And that was the last time I would ever see the worst teacher that I ever had in my academic school career. And then I went home after listening to Liam the King in Spanish class, which that class was lit if you didn't know from part 1. We literally listened to The Prodigy, and that was how we ended the school year, with a Liam the King song. And that was why Spanish was the best class, even though it was a language opposite of English. English was the worst class and Spanish was the best class. I don't see a world that happens today, actually, because those 2 classes are the worst in my opinion for this year, at least, because Spanish is no longer fun anymore. They just took down the fun factor for a little bit for me, in my humble opinion. And also, somebody that was in my Spanish 1 class actually commented in my comment section in the part 1 video, so had to mention that. And then I went home and I burned all of my books from Mrs. Anderson. And then I didn't have to deal with her ever again, and you don't have to deal with her ever again, because hope you guys enjoyed this video. I could have also went into the fact that she met Mel Gibson and like Jeff Kinney, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid author. Like, I could have gone into that, and I could have gone into way more stuff, but I don't have time right now, and I physically can't deal with this lady anymore. So smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, turn on the post notifications, and I will see you later. Why is this 17 minutes long? Because I had a lot to say, and I am out. Peace. Have a great day.